No. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Can you please give me a quick confirmation if you can see me, hear me, as well as see the screen? I have presented the gate company question, which we are going to be debriefing together. Is everything in check? Are we all good? Okay, so let's get started with this particular question. This question pertains to the relevant costing aspect of your syllabus. Now, whenever we are going ahead with solving of any section C type of a case study, the very first step that we should be performing is, having a quick look at what the requirements are. So the part A only is visible to me here on the front screen. This reads that I have to explain the principles of relevant costing and why gate companies should use relevant costing for their job for homes company. This is a 5 marker question that you are supposed to answer, and you can clearly see no numbers are involved here. So everything has to be discussion based, everything needs to be typed out. Firstly, you have to explain in general what are the principles of relevant costing, and then you have to say why specifically for gate company relevant costing is going to be useful. So this is a 5 marker requirement. And then we are now going to get started with the reading of the case study. So the case study says gate company is a construction company that installs heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. A large real estate developer, Homes Company, has requested a quote for a single HVAC installation. A proposal needs to be prepared on a relevant costing basis so that gate company can offer as low a price as possible. Homes Company has stated that the job must be completed within a period of 3 weeks. The following information has been gathered. What all do we know about the project? We know something about the materials, fasteners and connectors, heaters, heat pump. So what are the different things that we are going to be needing as a part of this project? Information pertaining to that has been given to us. So this probably might be something that we use in the answering of the next part that we solve as a part of this question. So part A, we are supposed to first talk about the principles of relevant costing, and then we had to say why it is useful for homes company. Now, this is a good thing that the question themselves, have asked you to write this answer as part of the requirement, because I anyway would have had to explain you these principles so that we can answer the numerical question. Now they have asked the same thing over here. So it's a good thing. We are going to write the concept down in detail, everything that we have learned as a part of relevant costing, which will be super useful when we are doing the numerical answer relating to this. So let's first solve the first part where we have to explain the principles of relevant costing. So as per the principles of relevant costing, there are essentially 4 items which are considered to be relevant. If there are any of these 4 characteristics which are applicable, then we are going to consider the costs to be relevant. So there are 4 costs that way. The first kind of cost is a future cost. So we will say that principles of relevant costing are as follows. So the first that we have relevant, we can use even bold subheadings. First relevant cost that we have is the future costs. Second, it has to be an incremental. So let's put it as future incremental. Then let's put it as cash flow, and then we talk about the opportunity cost. So this is the 4 pointer checklist that we have whenever we are talking about the principles. What all should we be considering to be relevant? So let's write in detail about what all you're going to be putting over here. Whenever we say future, what do you mean that the cost should be future? This means you can remove the bold now. So this means that only the costs which are contingent. What do you mean by contingent? Which are dependent upon the project's go ahead, which depend on whether the project will be taken up or not. Only those costs should be considered relevant. So anything which does not relate to the project, that cost should not be taken up. Anything which you have already incurred costs are considered to be sunk costs, and they are never considered to be relevant. Anything which will happen in the future because of taking up the project, only that cost will be considered as relevant. Then the next feature that we have learned is incremental. What do we mean by incremental? Incremental means something extra that you have to do only because of the project. So we say that it happens as a result of the decision. So let's suppose if I do take up this project, you can give an example. If I do take up a particular project, maybe my supervisor will have to take up some extra hours of work. So maybe my supervisor will have to work 20 hours of overtime. So if he has to work 20 hours extra because of this project, then only the extra part will be considered to be relevant, because that is directly incurred as a result of the decision. If I was paying my supervisor any annual or any monthly salary, that I would anyway be paying even if this project was taken up or not. So only that part which is extra, which is directly because of taking the decision, that cost is called incremental, and only that is considered relevant in relevant costing. Next that we have is a cash flow cost. So any cost will only be considered relevant if it involves actual flow of cash. Any item which is non-cash, any non-cash items like depreciation, these are nothing but your accounting policies. This happens because of the result of the accounting policies, so they are not considered to be relevant. If there is actual inflow or outflow of money, only then it's considered to be relevant. If there is no actual money going in or money going out, we do not consider it to be a relevant cost. And the last we talk about what is the opportunity cost. So it is the net lost benefit because of the next best alternative foregone, of the next best alternative that you forego. So another way you can support this with the help of an example, that for example, to take up a new project, you might have to use your workers to stop the earlier project which they were working on and now start work on your new project. So if they have to leave earlier project to work on new project, then the contribution that you lose out, contribution lost on that project, will be considered to be the opportunity cost and will be included in our calculations as a lost benefit, as a money kind of a thing which we have actually lost out on. So these 4 are the basic principles when it comes to relevant costing. And then the second part of the requirement. So far, we have not answered the final question. Why? Whenever you see the word and in any requirement in ACCA, especially in section C, Be very careful. They are not asking you the answer for only one question. They are asking you multiple things. So as soon as you see and, flag it. It's a red alert. There's not only one thing to answer, but something extra that they want. What's the extra thing here? They want you to tell why a gate company should be using relevant costing. So here you are going to put in another subheader and you will say use of relevant costing for gate company. Now, why is it going to be useful for gate company? You're going to talk about that. Relevant costing is essentially useful when there are two conditions. Relevant costing is useful in short-term decisions as well as doing or decisions which are one off decisions. So here gate company is taking up this order which is going to be done only once. So they are thinking to give up to give in this quotation for homes company. So here this is going to be particularly useful for them because gate company can, with the help of relevant costing, find out the cash flow consequence of taking up this project, consequence of taking up this particular project, this project of homes company, right? So now you have answered your entire requirement for 5 marks. Do we have any queries still here? The first part, part A worth 5 marks has been solved. Any doubts still here, guys? Okay. So let us now move ahead to the part B. Part B says we have to prepare a statement showing the project's relevant cost. This is an 8 marks worth of requirement. So let's prepare a statement showing the project's relevant cost. We are going to put in the particulars. We are also going to put in the amount. So let's do this. Let's now read the information one by one. With respect to materials, it's telling us 120 meters of ventilation pipe are required at the start of the project. This material is used in all of Gate Company's projects. There are 75 meters of ventilation pipes, which cost 8.6 per meter currently in stock. So this is something that we use in all of the projects. So if you are using something constantly in your business, what do we take the relevant cost? It's the replacement cost. And then what does it say about the further ones? While a large order of material is expected in 2 weeks, an express delivery from an alternative supplier can be made. This supplier charges $9.2 per meter, which is 0.6 higher than the normal price of 8.6, and $50 extra will be charged for the delivery. So with respect to the ventilation pipe, we have to divide our calculation in two parts. 120 is my total requirement. 75 I have already taken, which I can use from my existing stock and I can replace my own stock later. So how much will it cost to replace? 8.6 will be the normal cost to replace. But I need some more also. 120 is my total requirement. Only 75 has been met till now. So 120 minus 75 is going to give you 45, which you will have to buy from outside. And what do we have to buy it for? We are going to have to pay 9.2 for these extra 45 units. And then there also has to be a $50 worth of delivery charge. Why is this important? Because this is happening only because of this project. That is why these $50 and these $9.2 are going to be taken as a part of our relevant cost. So this is the calculation pertaining to our ventilation pipe. Now let's move ahead to the next information, which is about fasteners and connectors used in all of Gate Company's projects currently cost $3.6 for every 1.5 meters of installed ventilation pipe, and Gate Company has enough of this in stock for 80% of the job. Additional fasteners could be purchased at the local supplier as required at the current cost. So if I have to use whatever is the amount in the project, that entire amount that I have to use will be considered to be relevant. So with respect to fasteners and connectors, how much is going to be my requirement in the first place? Uh, it's required for every 1.5 meters of installed ventilation pipe. So 120 divided by 1.5 is what we are going to need. And per unit, this costs you 3.6. So this is what is going to be considered as the relevant cost when it pertains to the fasteners and the connectors. Then let's read further about heaters. A heater is required. A new unit costs $4,700. Gate Company has several of these models already in stock and uses them regularly on installations. An electrician will perform some of the work and charge Gate Company $450 for this service. So this heater also is regularly used. So the replacement cost of 4,700 will be considered relevant. Plus 450 will be specifically sent because of this project, which makes it an incremental cost. Hence, we are going to add it to the total relevant cost. So this is relevant for the heaters. Then let's talk about heat pump. So with respect to heat pump, it tells us, let's read the information. Gate Company has a heat pump in stock from a cancelled project that they plan to sell for $5,500. So if I do not use this particular heat pump in this project, then I can sell it for $5,500. And if I use it in this project, I will no longer earn these $5,500. So let's read the information further. This unit originally cost $6,200. The original cost which you have already spent, this is considered to be which cost? Yes, it is a sunk cost. So this has to be eliminated. This will never be considered relevant. However, this would need a modification of $925 to be compatible with the Homes Company system. So if I keep using this one, I have another option. New heat pump I can get for 8,500. This is the first option. And the other option was I get away with my sale of 5,500. I stop that sale and then I spend 925 more to make it into the usable condition. Out of the two options, we can see the first one is better, where we are using the earlier one only and getting it modified to meet the requirements as per Homes Company. So 6,425 will be my heat pump cost. Now let's go further about the skilled labor. So with respect to our skilled labor, we are going to read the information now. The project requires 120 skilled labor hours and these workers are paid $18 per hour. Gate Company has two options to complete the Homes Company request within the time required. The first option is to divert some of their skilled workers for 80 hours from a large job with an important customer. With this option, Gate Company would also incur $480 in overtime premium. Plus, you're diverting the workers. That means they will miss out on a deadline and it will cause you $2,500 worth of penalty. So the option that you have to meet these 80 hours, first option will cost you this much. Second option that you have is to outsource 80 hours of the installation to a subcontractor. The subcontractor charges $28 per hour. $28 multiplied by 80 hours. But let's read further. And takes on average 10% more time to do the work than the in-house workforce. So if in-house workforce takes 1 hour, these many people, these subcontractors, they are going to take 1.1 hour. So 80 hours multiplied by 1.1 is the time that they will take. And for every hour, we have to pay them $28. Under this option, no penalty or no overtime premium has to be paid. So this will be our total cost. Now this cost, as you can see, pertains to only 80 hours, but my total requirement was 120. 120 minus 80 gives you 40 more hours. That means your calculation is again bifurcated in two parts. First part is where 40 hours are taken at the normal rate of 18. And then you have the second option. Second option is whether you choose this cost or this cost. As an organization, we always want to minimize our costs. So the second option is what we are going to choose. We will show the entire working here, 28 into 80 into 1.1. So you add to it 80 hours more that we want, but they are going to take one for every 1 hour, they take 1.1 hour, and for each hour we have to pay them 28. So this is what the total cost is going to look like. Then we move ahead to the next adjustment now, which pertains to a supervisor. The supervisor is paid $55,000 per year. She estimates that managing the homes company project will take 25 hours this month, and she has sufficient capacity for this work. So that means there is nothing extra that we have to pay to the supervisor as a result of the project. So zero, nothing extra is what we have to pay. There is no incremental cost. So zero is what we take for this particular item. This 55,000 salary that the supervisor is paid per year, this is something which is already committed. You are not incurring as a result of this project. Hence, we are going to put zero here. Let's read further about the planning and permit work. Planning and permit. So with respect to this, it tells us 25 hours of work from the planning team will be needed. The team consists of 2 planners, each paid a monthly salary of $3,500. Now again, monthly salary, committed cost, not relevant. They will need to work 12 hours in total over a weekend. In addition to their normal hours to meet the homes company deadline, each planner is paid $25 per hour for the overtime work. So how many hours are they working extra? They are working 12 hours extra, and each hour you pay them 25. So 300 extra will be spent because of this project, incremental because of this project. Hence, it is going to be considered as relevant. Then the next thing that we have to do is talk about the overheads. Production overheads are charged at $10.50 per hour. Now, overheads, until and unless they are fixed, they are never considered to be relevant. Conceptually, only your variable overheads are considered to be relevant because they are directly because of the project. So let's see, of which 3.25 is considered as variable. Non-production overheads are absorbed for $1,500 per job. Now this is absorbed. That means this cost is also being incurred by default. This is a committed cost. This is not something extra which has been incurred only due to this project. So these non-production overheads are considered irrelevant. Similarly, the production overheads, which are a total of 10.5 per labor hour, only 3.25 is variable. So this is the only part which we have to consider to be relevant. So with respect to the overheads, this is a project 3.25 per hour, and this is a 120-hour project for the labor. So this amount is what is going to be considered relevant as far as the overheads are concerned. So we can just find out the sum of all of these values, and that is going to give us the total relevant cost for this particular project. So you can say that this will be the total of the relevant cost. So here you have the entire 8-marker solution worked out in front of you. Do let me know if you people have any queries, or if not, then also let me know that you're all with me till here. Okay. So if you're all with me till here, I will now move ahead to the part C that pertains to this case study. Part C is a 7-marker requirement which wants us to explain why we included or excluded each item in our costing. So here we have to give the justification for each and every item, whatever we took and whatever we had excluded. So let's start giving our justifications. The first item that we had started off with was a ventilation pipe. So with respect to the ventilation pipe, let's start framing our answer. We can put in bold subheaders for each material one by one. Ventilation pipes. Then we can say about, we had the second thing as the fasteners and connectors. Then we have information about a heater, heat pump, heater, heat pump. And then we have about skilled labor, supervisor, skilled labor, supervisor, planning and permit work. And then we have something about the overheads. So these are all the items which I'm supposed to talk about. Now I've put in my subheaders so that my answer is going to become easier for the examiner to read and get through my reasoning for each of the items. Firstly, I'll talk about the ventilation pipes. So here we will say that whenever something is in the regular use, these ventilation pipes are in the regular use. So we always consider the replacement cost. So something which we already have in stock, 75 meters that were already in stock, we have used the replacement cost for that. And for the extra 45 that we needed more, for those 45 meters more, we had to take the incremental cost, something extra which we were only spending because of this. So this extra that we have spent, 9.2 will be considered relevant. And if you talk about the delivery, that delivery is also specifically for this project, incremental because of this project. Hence, it is considered to be relevant in our calculations. That's the reason that we have included the $50 of delivery charges. Then the next thing which we spoke about was about the fasteners and the connectors. Again, the reason over here is going to be that this is also in the regular use of gate company, regular use of gate company. So we always take the replacement cost. Now you had 80% of the material with you lying already, but since this entire 100% is going to be used up in this particular project only, so the 100% of the cost is going to be considered as relevant. 100% of the cost considered to be relevant. Then let's move ahead to the next item. Next item was about a heater. So the heater was something which we already have in stock, and again we are using it in the day-to-day use. So if it was in regular use, we take the current price or the replacement cost, it's actually the same. So this is what we are going to be using. And then this 450 worth of electrician service, this is also relevant. This we have included, and the reason being that this was incremental. So hence it was considered to be relevant. Then the next thing that we have is about the heat pump. So with respect to the heat pump, it was given to us that they have already from an earlier project and they had to sell it for $5,500. So this $5,500 will be lost out sales of the heat pump. So this is the opportunity cost. Hence, this is going to be considered as relevant. If you talk about your 6,200 original cost, that cost has already been incurred. It is a sunk cost. So that will be considered to be irrelevant. Then if you read further, what did it say? 925 to make it further compatible. So option one was to spend 5,500 plus 925 to make it compatible. Option two was to pay $8,500. So option one was chosen because it was cheaper. Option one, cheaper. So the cost of option one we have included as the relevant cost. Then let's talk about the skilled labor. Obviously, here, guys, one thing I would want to clarify that this is something which I am showing as a part of the explanation to you people. This is not the right presentation for your final exam. For your final exam, you always have to put your answers in proper sentences. Here, I'm just explaining and letting you people know how you're going to frame your answer. These are the keywords, but you have to answer always in full proper sentences. These keywords are not something that you write in a professional qualification like ACCA. Your answers have to be presented as if you're a professional person, right? So that's about that. Now let's continue working. About skilled labor, we see the project requires 120 hours in skilled labor. So we had to split our calculation in two parts. Firstly, about the 40 hours, they are charged at the normal price of 18. This is something that you do specifically for the project, incremental, hence considered relevant. Now, talking about the remaining 80 hours, we had two options. What were the two options? Option number one, Option number one was that you spend 480 plus $2,500. Or the second choice that you had was option two that you had was to outsource 80 hours into 1.1 into 28. So option two was cheaper. Option two was cheaper. So we go ahead with that, and that cost has been considered as the relevant cost. Then you talk about your supervisor. So with respect to the supervisor, you will say annual salary is a committed cost, hence not relevant. Hence we have excluded because it is irrelevant. Then if you talk about the 25 hours that she is going to spend specifically for this project, this comes out from her sufficient capacity. You are not paying anything extra, no incremental cost, hence 0 is the relevant cost. Then you talk about the next item, which was about the planning and permit work. So with respect to this, we know that a total of 12 hours extra was needed at the rate of 25. So 12 hours paid at the rate of 25. This is something incremental that we spend on the project, hence considered relevant. And whatever is their monthly salary, that was a part of their committed costs which we had to pay even if we take up the project or we do not. So this was a committed cost, hence we have excluded this particular cost. And last, we talk about the overheads. So as far the overheads are concerned, we are only considering the variable part of it to be incremental. Only variable part of overheads is considered to be incremental. So we consider that to be relevant. Fixed part is, you can say, in a way, committed cost. Hence, it is going to be marked as irrelevant and we will exclude it from our calculations. So with this, we have come to an end to the last question that we had pertaining to this particular case study. Any doubts, any difficulties, guys? I'll wait for 2 minutes. If you have any queries, you people can let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you for the next video where we are going to solve the second CRQ from this particular paper. All right. If there are no queries, then I'll see you people the next time. All the very best. Keep studying. Keep